SB 407 by Senator Wiener, and we thank Assemblymember Calderon for presenting on his behalf. You may begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm happy to present SB 407 on behalf of Senator Wiener. This bill expands the California Department of Social Services and Counties' responsibilities related to implementing a resource family approval, RFA, process to require resource families to demonstrate the capacity to meet the needs of a child, regardless of the child's sexual orientation or gender identity, as specified. With me here to testify is Jill from Family Builders and Craig from Equality California.
Good afternoon, Chair and committee members. I'm Jill Jacobs, the CEO of Family Builders, an Oakland-based foster care, adoption, permanency, and LGBT services organization. I also serve as a board member of the California Alliance of Child and Family Services, 160 statewide nonprofit organizations that provide services to children, youth, and families in foster care, and one of the co-sponsors of this bill. Studies show that LGBTQ youth are disproportionately represented in foster care, comprising over 34% of youth in foster care. LGBTQ youth suffer abuse in foster care at a rate twice of that of non-LGBT youth. And 45% of LGBTQ youth seriously considered suicide in the past year. More than half of transgender and non-binary youth have considered suicide in the past year. California has enacted legislation to prevent discrimination, including the Foster Care Bill of Rights. However, this protection is not translated when approving the process to approve resource families. SB 407 will strengthen and clarify the existing resource family approval process to prevent discrimination and abuse that is still occurring today. To become a resource parent, there's a set of criteria that one must meet. And if the prospective caregiver cannot meet the criteria, they should not be approved. I'd like to tell you the story of a young man who I met when he was in his early 20s. He came into foster care when he was a toddler. He'd only known the one family that he'd been placed with when he was a toddler. He grew up thinking they were his family. He called them mom and dad. When he was 14 years old, he came out to his family, telling them he was gay. The day after he did this, he was removed from his family. He never had another family, and frankly, his heart never healed. The last time I saw him, he was kind of meandering through his 20s. We don't know which youth are gay or non-binary, or which children are going to come out, or when they're going to come out. Therefore, we must ensure that all caregivers are able to meet the needs of children, which SB 407 will do. And one more number that's really important that I want you to know is that youth who perceive parental support regarding their gender identity are 93% less likely to attempt suicide. As a mother, I can't think of anything more profound than that. We believe this bill will actually save lives. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Good afternoon, Chair and members. Craig Pulsfer on behalf of Equality California, a proud co-sponsor. Over the past decade, Equality California has sponsored and supported numerous bills to help ensure that all resource families have the training and support they need to support LGBTQ youth who remain drastically overrepresented in the foster care system. Currently, all resource families are required to receive training on sexual orientation and gender identity, and California has established a strong Foster Youth Bill of Rights, which clearly states that all foster youth have the right to be free from discrimination or harassment. But we continue to hear stories of LGBTQ foster youth who are being placed in homes with caregivers that are not accepting or affirming of their identity. As the analysis highlights, a significant number of LGBTQ youth continue to experience maltreatment after they are placed in out-of-home care due to their sexual orientation or gender identity. According to one study in Los Angeles, 13% of LGBTQ youth reported being treated poorly by the foster care system, compared with 6% of non-LGBTQ youth. SB 407 will strengthen the resource family approval process by making it clear that all resource families must have the ability to uphold the existing rights of all children in their care, including LGBTQ youth, and if any issues arise, that they're willing to seek out any and all available resources to help meet those needs. It will also require counties to ensure that approved resource families are upholding the rights of not only LGBTQ youth, but all youth regardless of their background. It is important to stress that this bill is not in any way intended or directed at the beliefs of potential resource families, religious or otherwise. and everyone is free to hold any beliefs they choose about sexual orientation or gender identity, as long as they don't discriminate or harass foster youth in their care. SB 407 will simply ensure that California's resource family approval process is as strong as possible and help to protect LGBTQ youth from further violence in the foster care system. We are grateful to Senator Wiener for bringing this bill forward and respectfully urge your aye vote.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone in the room in support at this time? Please come on up and just state your name and affiliation, please.
Good afternoon, Tyler Rindy on behalf of the California Alliance of Child and Family Services, one of the co-sponsors in support. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members. Martha Guerrero, representing the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors, in support.
Chair and members, Michelle Teran-Wolfork with the California Commission on the Status of Women and Girls, in support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Kathy Sunderling McDonald with the County Welfare Directors Association. We're support if amended, but the amendments are intended to be technical and friendly to the bill, and we hope that we'll get into full support very quickly. Thank you.
Tiffany Fan on behalf of California Court Appointed Special Advocate Association, or CalCASA, in support. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Jenny Trice on behalf of the County of Santa Clara, in support.
Thank you very much. We would like to invite up Greg Burt and Jonathan Zackerson, who are here as witnesses in opposition. Please come on up, and you may begin when you're ready.
Chair and members, my name is Greg Burt with the California Family Council in opposition to SB 407. We fear the intent of this bill is to weed out potential foster care parents whose religious beliefs about gender and sexual orientation conflict with those of the state. These beliefs are not rooted in animus or hatred. They are faith-based, science-based viewpoints about the nature of reality, where feelings don't determine one's sex, identity, or sexual behavior, but biology does. The bill author in a previous hearing said that foster parents can still believe whatever they want under this bill about gender and sexual orientation. I question this. Here's a question that needs to be answered in this hearing. If a foster parent says their religious faith prohibits them from affirming or encouraging a child's self-perceived gender or sexual identity, can those individuals still be foster parents under this bill? I think the answer is clearly no. The bill text mandates that foster parents have, and I quote, the capacity to meet those needs of a child regardless of the child's sexual orientation and gender identity, including an understanding that the sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression can evolve over time, end quote. The language in this bill will be interpreted as a requirement for foster care parents to actively affirm and encourage beliefs and behavior in foster children that contradict their faith, and they'll not be able to do it. Have you ever thought about how many foster parents you might lose if you approve this bill? There are a lot of people doing foster care that are motivated by their faith. This bill infringes on the First Amendment protections for religious belief and practice because it compels speech and behavior that violates a person's sincerely held religious beliefs. SB 407 excludes an entire class from being foster parents because of their religion. And for these reasons, we're asking you to vote no. Thank you.
My name is Jonathan Zackerson. I'm a parent of 3, have many titles, and wear many hats. But today I speak as a foster parent to a teenager of 4 years in opposition to SB 407. Our family was first joined by a 14-year-old foster child whose group home was closing. Through the 4 years of fostering, we helped empower her to make sound medical decisions for herself, provide stability through a revolving door of county caseworkers, grow into a vibrant young adult, and proudly watched her graduate high school, a goal she thought unattainable. She now plans on attending community college in the fall. But if SB 407 was law 5 years ago, we would have never been approved, and she would have moved across the state into another group home far away from everyone she ever knew. Why? Because if she or our other daughter came home from school one day and said, I think I might be a boy, we would tell her that no child was born in the wrong body, and there is no right or wrong way to be a girl. We would teach her to have the confidence to love her body the way it is, and for that, this bill would shun us from ever being resource parents again. At the bill's Senate hearing, the author said if 7 out of 10 families don't share the sponsor's view on parenting, then we don't have 10 resource families, we only have 3. That estimate matches reality. A poll published this week showed that by nearly 2-to-1 margin, Americans believe that being a man or woman is something that is permanent and cannot be changed. Does that make nearly 2/3 of adults unable to care for any foster kid, even if the child is young or not part of the 5% of transgender foster kids the author estimates? The sad reality is the state has a resource family shortage. 2 months ago, we learned of a harrowing story of foster teens in Sacramento County living in an old jail with conditions so bad that the sheriffs normally would contact CPS. And in May, an article of the LA Times discusses this crisis and how group homes have been halved since 2017, but the state has failed to recruit nearly enough resource families to offset the closures. Will it be the policy of this committee to reduce the number of loving resource families by possibly 60 to 70% and to pile foster youth into unsafe conditions? Will it be the policy of this committee to prevent a family member from fostering their own 5-year-old relative because a relative doesn't think biological boys should share a bedroom with a transgender biological girl and would say no to that hypothetical fostering scenario? This bill will dramatically reduce the number and quality of resource families and hurt all foster kids in California. On behalf of them, I beg you, please vote no on SB 407.
Thank you very much. If there's opposition in the room, please come on up and just state your name, affiliation, and whether you support or oppose, please.
Hello, my name is Allie Snyder. I'm a mother of 2, registered voter. I oppose.
David Bolog, an affiliation with Take a Stand Stanislaus, San Fernando Valley parents, and no person is born in the wrong body.
Just
in
state
opposition.
whether you support or oppose, please.
Good afternoon, Kasia Williams. On behalf of California Parents Union, a special group for parents, grandparents, teachers, we are in opposition to SB 407. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Erin Friday, our duty, a mother of a girl who used to think she was a boy.
Lauren Wall Sanchez, a public health professional and former lifelong Democrat of over 40 years. I oppose.
Judith Cahill, representing WomenAreReal.org, in opposition.
Lisa Mullins, mother of a daughter that is just now coming back to being a daughter. I oppose.
Barbara Walker from Alameda, California, liberal mother of 3. I firmly oppose.
Stephanie, registered voter, California native, and sister of a victim of this heinous crime. I oppose it as well.
Yes, hi, Sharina Latch, Placer County. I'm a mother of 3, and my daughter was abused in foster care.
Please state whether you
and I am in
support or
strong
oppose,
opposition,
please.
and please vote no. Thank you.
My name is Tanya. I'm trying to get my daughter back. She was picked up by this garbage.
Please
and I
state
oppose.
whether you support or oppose,
No,
please.
it's not constitutional what you guys are doing.
Pastor Brandon Campbell, Faith Baptist Church in Wheatland, Northern California, Director of California Capital Connection for Independent Baptist Churches in opposition.
Scott Dean, pastor of Elmira Baptist Church. We are strongly opposed.
Christine Campbell, just a concerned parent, in opposition.
Pastor Tim Benefield of Cornerstone Baptist Church in Modesto, and absolutely opposed.
Margaret Rader, concerned parent who understands the facts of this
Please
situation
just
in
state
strong
whether you support
opposition.
or oppose, please.
Sarah Martinez, I'm a parent from Contra Costa County, and I oppose this bill.
Kara Butler, a mother of 2 teenage boys, and I strongly oppose this bill.
My name is Mike, the Funky Fathers organization, ending tyranny one song at a time, especially pharmaceutical tyranny. I oppose.
I'm Stephanie Suela for Rebuild California, and I strongly oppose being a mother, a grandmother, and a great-grandmother.
Sherry Meek, Oakland, California, lifelong Democratic voter. I oppose this bill.
Susan Waters from Solano County, mother and grandmother. I strongly oppose this bill.
Barbara Hyde from Fremont. I strongly oppose this bill as a 57-year
Thank you very much for your
Democratic
time.
voter.
Amanda Covatana, San Mateo County. I was a gender nonconforming child. I'm a lesbian now. I strongly oppose.
Nathan Pierce, on behalf of Child and Family Protection Association, in opposition.
Good afternoon.
T. Jacobian. I'm speaking on behalf of Tulare Coalition for Freedom, Blessings of Liberty in Porterville, Unmasked Tulare County, Red Rover Children's Advocate Group, Calvary Visalia Church, Rock Harbor Church. I stand in joint support with Stand Up Sacramento County and Freedom Angels in strong opposition to SB 407. Thank you.
Lisa Disbrow, veteran public school teacher. Teachers Against Groomers, Inform Parents of Contra Costa County in strong opposition, and La Mirindans Against Grooming.
Thank you very much. Now we'll go to our phone lines. Please, if there's anyone on the phone lines, please go. We'll start with support.
If you wish to speak in support, please press 1, then 0. We'll be going to line 39. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon, Denise Hoyslot calling on the behalf of SBRNet in support. Thank you. Have a great day.
Next, we'll be going to line 25. Please go ahead.
This is an opposition call. I'll redial.
Let's go to line 51. Please go ahead.
Hi, I'm opposed. Please re-queue me.
Why don't we just do this? Whether you're in support or opposed, we'll just take them both at the same time.
All right. So once again, if you wish to speak in support or opposition, please press 1, then 0. We will go to line 50. Please go ahead.
Sue Evans, COO, Walden Family Services, a foster family agency. I strongly support this bill to support our foster youth.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to line 34. Please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Eve Banis on behalf of the Sacramento LGBT Community Center in strong support.
Next, we'll go to line 43. Please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Esperanza Segada. I'm calling on behalf of Seneca Family of Agencies, and we are in strong support of this bill. Thank you.
Next, we'll go to line 7. Please go ahead.
Hi, Mary Creasy on behalf of the Children's Partnership in support.
Next, we'll go to line 29. Please go ahead.
Tim Chu with Trans Youth Liberation. We are in support.
Next, we'll go to line 51. Please go ahead.
Hi, is that me? The phones are a little bit confusing, and I'm curious where the author of the bill is. Don't these lawmakers need to show up for work?
Thank you very much for your time.
Was that Scott Wiener presenting the bill?
We'll move on to the next caller, please.
Presenting his own bill.
And we do have a few others that have queued up. One moment while their line number is given.
And again, we will take both support and oppose at the same time.
Next, we'll go into line. We'll be going to line 52. Please go ahead. We'll be going to line 52. Please go ahead.
Good afternoon. Rebecca Gonzalez with the National Association of Social Workers California chapter in strong support.
Next, we'll go into line 54. Please go ahead.
Penny Harrington from San Diego County, strongly opposed.
There's currently no one else in the queue, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. Now we'll turn to questions or comments from committee members. Are there any? Mr. Lackey, you have the floor.
Thank you. As we all know, the foster care system has become a critical component in our current society. And the district that I have had the privilege of representing, we have a very, very high number of youth in the foster care system. And I appreciate the intent to ensure that abused and neglected children are provided with supportive type of environments because they do not need more adverse childhood experiences in their life. However, I don't think we're in a position to limit resource parents. There are not enough of them, and many of them are older and retired. We can all learn from generational divides and disagreements. As foster youth move from group homes to resource parents, they learn by contrast. We all know that group homes supply less stability than resource parents. And in this group setting, many children are experiencing issues derived from that setting. Children, particularly aging boys, wait while the county attempts to meet these requirements. Surely we would not want to delay having a room to themselves while they check yet another box. This is a political test which is not equipped to evaluate someone's capacity to care. When someone opens their home to a foster child, they do so with an open heart. That foster child will challenge them to open their minds and hopefully their hearts as well. We should not be afraid of disagreement or misunderstanding, which is inevitable in all family-based situations. And I can't support a bill that I think will put our children in greater peril, because I could tell you, everybody, group homes serve a purpose, but clearly are not an ideal alternative. And for that reason, I can't support this bill.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lackey. Is there any additional members at this time? Ms. Bonta.
Well, I want to first thank Ms. Calderon for stepping in and representing this bill with such fidelity, and to the testimony of those in support for making clear what the intention of this bill is about, and certainly to the author for bringing it forward in the first place. I can certainly acknowledge the fear that comes with the idea that we might lose resource families by moving forward with this bill. However, if the state's responsibility is at the end of the day to create homes for our youth who are desperately in need of them, that provide social and emotional support, environments that they can thrive in, and be able to be who they are in for the entirety of their lives, in all of who they are, I think it's absolutely critical that we take this step to ensure that we are doing our responsibility as a state to make sure that those resource families are those homes. I don't buy the First Amendment arguments at all. We establish criteria for resource families that require them to have food in their refrigerator, to make sure that they have a stable home environment, that makes sure that they are not abusive, and we also require them to make sure that they are able to support a child in all of who they are. And that's what this bill, as I understand it, intends to do. For those reasons, I will be supporting this bill, and I would like to make sure that we encourage our fellow colleagues to think about this with open hearts around what happens to youth, particularly foster youth who are trans, LGBTQ, who get placed in homes where they don't belong. And bring it back to my advocate from Oakland here, who shared the story of a broken heart of a young boy who discovered and learned about who he was throughout the process of growing up with a family. And I don't want that to happen for any child, and certainly not a child who is the most vulnerable. So thank you.
Any other members at this time? Mr. Carrillo?
I also represent a district where we get a large number of foster population, and unfortunately a lot of them come without any resources from where they come from. There's been a lot of legislation where we are supporting, doing good efforts to help the foster population, which is in desperate need in various areas. In fact, I do have a bill that proposes to help the foster population. I do believe that the specific foster population that this bill is addressing should not be ignored, because we've done efforts throughout many other different bills and legislation. And again, this bill, I believe, is addressing those specific needs that the bill is trying to address. So for that reason, I will be supporting this bill. And I'll also like to make a motion to move the bill.
Mr. Alanis, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a few questions because I'm still a little puzzled on some of this. So if you have foster parents, or resource parents, if they don't agree to the terms, are they allowed to still have foster kids?
The regulations that oversee and regulate the process for approving and supporting resource families is 337 pages. And there's lots of rules, as the Assemblywoman said, and requirements. What this bill is trying to do is make sure, and there's a psychosocial assessment process for any prospective caregiver, whether that be a relative or a new foster parent, whoever comes through the process. It's now an equal system for relatives and non-relatives. And there's a psychosocial assessment, and there's lots and lots of things that are addressed in that. It's usually a 10 to 15 page document when it's written up. This is one of the areas of inquiry, is how would you support a young person if they came out to you? And whoever's asking those questions, which should be master's level social workers or clinicians, work with the family, talk to the family. It's not a yes and a no, but where's the family at with this? What will they be able to do? If the family is absolutely adamant and says we would have to kick the child out of the home, in my agency, we would not approve that family. And what this bill is doing is putting a little bit of strength behind that, because we can't continue to do what we've been doing. I've been in my position for 27 years. When I started, there was 125,000 children in foster care in California. And in 1996, people were saying, well, we can't afford to lose any foster parents. And so for 27 years, we've been putting kids into abusive foster homes. They run away. They end up back in the shelters. They're on the street. If you look at the demographics of homeless youth, it's more than 65% are LGBT and former foster youth. There's a correlation there. So in answer to your question, sir, yes, that could happen if the family is not able to move forward.
Okay. And as a law enforcement officer dealing with school kids and crimes against children and all that, I know what you're talking about, but I also see the value in also making sure that those parents are available. And so the other thing I have a question about, and I don't know too much about the foster part, is are they also actually asked, like, or maybe prefer, like I would prefer kids under 5, or I would prefer kids?
Foster parents can always decide what kind of child they want in their home, whether they want to, support babies or teenagers or any other demographic. Same goes for gender and race. The problem with sexual orientation and gender identity is we don't know what that is. We know what a child's race is. We know what their age is, but we don't always know what that is, and we don't know, like this 14-year-old boy, when he was 4, I don't think he knew he was gay. He figured that out when he was 14, and yet he lost his family, and that's what we're trying to prevent.
Okay, I understand that, but I also see that becoming a strong issue also, because even for us parents who have kids that didn't know who or what they were, me, myself, my daughter, she didn't come out till she was a teenager, but I didn't mean that I wasn't still able to take care of her as a young one. And so now I fear that with this bill, that's what we're doing, and it's not, in my eyes, fair to the child if we decide that for them with their foster parents that could be loving and caring, and maybe just have those questions down the road, and maybe can get the counseling then to be able to provide a better, healthier environment for that child.
What we're asking resource families to do is what you've done. It's what I've done, which is kind of follow our kids, let our kids lead us the way, and raise them to become healthy, happy individuals. And you were able to do that. You were able to support your children through whatever, trials and tribulations. Raising kids is hard. It's the hardest job in the world, as far as I'm concerned. And we're there, and we support our children. We need families that say they can do that, even if maybe you don't have all the answers. Maybe you don't know. Some folks don't know what it means to be transgender. They don't know what gender identity means. That's okay. We can help you. There's support and resources for that. It's when somebody comes in and says, no, I'm opposed to that. The child would have to leave my home. That's a problem.
Okay. And I get that, but I also see that as in like somebody saying that they won't accept anybody over 5, or they won't accept a certain gender. I kind of see that in that category also, and just know, okay, well then I can't place that kid there. And if those issues do come up, then that's what I see being a solution to that. And as for opposition, I don't know if you guys have anything to say on that as well.
Our biggest concern,
parents, I wouldn't want any foster parent to be kicking a child out of their home when they found out they were, coming out as LGBT. But what we're concerned about is that the only thing that would exclude you is actually your beliefs about gender. I mean, if you simply have a family simply because they're a Muslim or they're Jewish or they're Christian and they have a particular view on gender, we're afraid that alone will exclude them from being a foster parent, right? And I don't see them contradicting that. You have to believe a certain way if you want to be a foster parent. And not just believe in your head, but you must be affirming. I mean, you encourage a child, you affirm them into something that would contradict their faith. So what that will do is it will completely exclude folks who have a particular view on gender because of their religious belief from being foster parents. That's illegal. You can't outlaw a person with a religious belief from being a foster parent as the only criteria. And I don't know how they can't say that's going to happen, because it is.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I was just going to reiterate what Jill shared. I mean, the bill is not directed at anyone's beliefs. Foster youth in California have a clear set of rights. One of those is to be free from discrimination and harassment. So if a foster youth resource family kind of openly shares that they could be hostile or discriminate against LGBTQ youth, they would potentially not be eligible. But we're simply asking resource families to uphold the basic rights of all foster youth, including LGBTQ folks, rights that are clearly established in existing law.
I think when we entangle this issue with faith and with religion, it gets really slippery. And of course, everyone has the right to their religious beliefs. But there are many, many people of faith and many, many religions that support LGBT youth. And we welcome everyone. And everyone has that right to their religious freedom. But there is no entitlement to become a resource parent. We're acting on behalf of the state. We have to make sure that children that come into the state's care meet the criteria to be cared for safely. And that's the difference. There is no entitlement to be a resource parent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any additional members at this time? Seeing none. Ms. Carrillo, would you like to close?
Calderon.
Calderon, I'm
Chair.
sorry.
That's okay. Yes, on behalf of Senator Wiener, I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
We have a motion by Carrillo, a second by Bonta. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
The motion is due pass to the Assembly Appropriations Committee. Jackson? Aye. Jackson, aye. Lackey?
No.
Lackey, no. Alanis? No. Alanis, no. Arambula? Aye. Arambula, aye. Bonta? Aye. Bonta, aye. Juan Carrillo? Aye. Juan Carrillo, aye. Calderon? Aye. Calderon, aye. Garcia? Aye. Garcia, aye.
The vote is 6-0. The bill is out. 6-0. I'm sorry. 6-2. I'm sorry. 6-2. The bill is out. Thank you very much. Next, we will have members, if you've already